Oh, Jorge, such an exciting week in Canada's Drag Race. All starts so busy, but this heat. If I sweat one more ounce of fluid from my body, I'm just gonna turn to dust. I'm so... Oh, hey! Hi! It's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of the premiere episode of Canada's Drag Race. And all I have to say is, Jorge! Drink me! Ooh, what is this? Oh, this is Christine Belle Ellen's. I'm sure that's how she says her name, or it's Belle Helen. But Belle Ellen, Christine, either way, she's one of my Patreon supporters, and she sent me a message to describe this cocktail. What it is, it's 5 grapes mashed up in the bottom of a shaker, an ounce of gin, an ounce of Campari, some lemon juice, about a half ounce, a snoochy snooch of a sugar syrup, and you just shake it in the shaker and pour it over ice, and there you have it. Mmm. Ooh, it's tart, it's sweet, it's summer in a glass. So let's get to it. Well, first of all, before we start anything, I just want to say, Sweet Marie and the Ships at Sea. I'm so excited that Canada has its own franchise of Drag Race. I'm so serious. And you can tell it's Canada's Drag Race because of that big old maple leaf on the workroom wall. Now, a friend of mine once pointed out, he's American, he pointed out to me and said, you Canadians are always throwing a maple leaf on everything so everyone knows you're Canadian. And I said, we don't throw a maple leaf on everything so people know we're Canadian. We throw a maple leaf on everything so they know we're not American. So we started this episode of Canada's Drag Race off with Priyanka breaking the seal on that workroom door. And I have to say, I liked her outfit at first. The big question mark intrigued me. But once she removed that, what was I looking at? Just a busy bathing suit. It's a good thing Michelle Visage isn't a judge on this, I'm just saying. Well, yet. Next through the workroom doors was Indigenous icon Alona Verley, and she almost gave Priyanka a heart attack, not because she threw her empty phone case on the floor, but because she all but alluded that all Toronto queens have paid for their social media followers. Well, I never. I mean, if you saw how many people I had following me on Instagram, you'd know that's not true. Seriously, I suck at Instagram. Montreal's Kiara was next through the workroom doors, and how cute was she, all pretty and pink and charming to boot? I expected nothing less. Thank God Juicebox entered the workroom next to distract the other queens with her fallen Victoria's Secret outfit. I don't know if this was a cheaply made costume or it just didn't film well, but I didn't like it. Even the jewelry she was wearing didn't seem to like it. It kept trying to snag it off her own body. Seriously. Then my East York girl, the reigning Ms. Black Continental, Anastasia Anakwe, entered the workroom, and those queens were shook. This is a dyed-in-the-wool drag queen and a doll after my own heart because Anastasia makes everything she wears. Must be something in the water in East York. Either way, you could tell that these queens were worried, and so they should be. Something else that was worrisome was Lemon's big long manteau, which is French for duvet. How long has this queen been living in New York? Seriously, it's not that cold up here in Canada. Well, it's not in Southern Ontario anyway. But seriously, this girl's done a lot of fun stuff. But at 23, I worry that she may come off a little too full of herself. And by that I mean American. Okay, now I don't mean to gush, but I'm gonna, because the next queen to enter the workroom was one of my faves. From Toronto, it was Scarlett Bobo. We're friends on socials. We're like this. This is me. From Kitchener and YouTube, Kyne was the next queen through the workroom doors. And I have to say, this is another queen I was super excited to see on Canada's Drag Race. Was being the operative word. This is a queen who's helped thousands of people, including myself, learn how to create fabulous drag for themselves. So why was she walking through the workroom doors in that Cruella de Vil sloppy crotch? I'm just saying. And yes, sloppy crotch was my drag queen name in high school. No offense, but you'd think that the dancing diva from the Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, Tri-City area would want to tighten that puss up. The next queen through the workroom door shocked everyone into silence. Now, I'm not sure if that's because of her outfit or if it's because of her reputation, but I'm going to take outfit for 1,000, Alex. The original bitch on arrival, Boa, moved her way into that workroom and looked utterly spectacular. Okay, I think I got that out of my system. Personally, I liked her outfit. I thought it looked like the slot machine invaders from the planet Moolah. No one else? I'm the only old lady with a penchant for one-armed bandits? More for me. Next through the workroom doors, another one of my picks for top 3, Rita Baga, Montreal's Queen Supreme with the thick accent. Shut your face. I'm super excited to see what Rita Baga brings to the table because she is a legend in Montreal and obviously way too busy to follow any of these girls on YouTube. Time! And then the state of French-English relations in Canada were summed up in one badly spoken phrase by Ilona Verily. Est-ce que je peux aller à toilette? Can I go to the toilet? Well, you're doing it now, Ilona. You're peeing all over one of Canada's most diverse and beautiful provinces. You can tell this girl's from Vancouver, eh? Thank God my third pick for top 3 made her entrance because it shut those other queens up. No one seemed to know how to take Jimbo's look, but I loved it. I just thought it was so editorial and so over the top. But I also like the fact that if you took away that extreme wig and that white makeup, I think any of the queens with their face and hair could have worn that outfit without it looking odd. Just made me appreciate it just that little bit more. And here's something else I don't understand. Why is it whenever a unique, weird queen walks through the workroom doors on any version of RuPaul's Drag Race, all the other queens dismiss her out of hand? I mean, if we've learned one thing from RuPaul's Drag Race, it's that those weird queens that walk to the beat of a different drummer are usually the ones to watch out for. Seriously. And last but not least, Tynomi Banks made her entrance into the workroom. Now, I have to say, Tynomi's another queen that I think has the potential to make top 3, but she just doesn't have a huge personality. She's a fabulous performer. She's electric, she's gorgeous, she knows how to pull a look together, but when we're looking at queens who are a little bigger personalities, it's easy for the pretty girls to get lost in the background. I'm hoping that's not the case with Tynomi Banks because she's already got a couple of those queens worried. Good for her. Thank God RuPaul was there via video to greet the queens, even with her lame attempt to sound Canadian by throwing in a boot in, eh? Interesting how a $100,000 check in your hand makes anything you say funny. Whores. And then the real stars of the show arrived. Our judges, Stacey McKenzie, Brooklyn Heights, and Jeffrey Boyer Chapman. And they were there to give the queens the first ever mini challenge, the photo shoot. But before we get on to that, can I just ask a question? Where was the makeup endorsement? Seriously, the queens were going to win $100,000 and a year's worth of stays at Hilton hotels. Not that the Hilton hotels are anything to sniff at, and a year's worth of stays, especially if you're a working queen who does travel, can help save some money. But I thought for sure Mac would get in on this. They were the first makeup endorsement that RuPaul's Drag Race ever had for that season 1 that nobody watched. I thought for sure that they'd come back for the first season, at least for Canada's Drag Race. Guess I was wrong. And then it was on to the photo shoot with the cuter than cute Matt Barnes, who took us to the Canadian Rockies, which coincidentally was my drag queen name in high school. Ilona Verily was the first queen to make the ascent, and there was a lot of whining and screaming during her photo shoot. And that was even before the cold snap moved in. So she did the only thing any queen could do, which was, well, to get rid of that annoying fake nose ring, first of all, and then strip down to her support hose and give us that pose. Seriously, this was my favorite shot of the whole episode. I can't believe that Ilona didn't win. And neither, I'm sure, can she. Priyanka was next, and she hit that mountain running. And as far as I'm concerned, I think her whole approach to this photo shoot was to go for laughs. I mean, why else would she do that pose? Seriously. Bobo was next to ascend the Rockies, and she took to the mountain like any drag queen would, getting blown in the face with fake snow, with a lot of inappropriate moaning. No wonder Brooklyn thought she was watching porn, and not good porn either. This was more like that porn you pay for in a cheap motel. So I've heard. Either way, this experience seemed to take a lot out of Bobo because she could barely walk when it was all over. I have to say I was disappointed in Rita's photo, especially after that overly long bellow. And I don't know what caused Brooklyn to make that crack about her tuck being separatist, but maybe I was distracted by the lacings on her leggings, which looked like they were coming undone. What I was. Kiara was giving us some pretty basic catalog poses for a self-proclaimed look queen, if you ask me, and that cold snap did nothing to improve it. Seriously. Anastasia's years of experience did nothing to prepare her for her close-up, but she still delivered a pretty good photo. Seriously. I felt that Tainomi Banks played it a little too safe for this photo shoot, but when it was all said and done, her photo didn't suck. Just saying. Boa was another queen that didn't seem to be bothered by the cold snap during her photo shoot. She was having enough trouble wrestling with that pole. Sounds dirty. Lemon was next, and all I can say is that duvet that Priyanka thought she was wearing made way more sense during her photo shoot. Seriously, she could audition for The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe Snow Queen with this picture. I liked it. Kine was next, and I have to say I was disappointed in her photo shoot. I guess I was expecting more from the dancing diva from the Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, Tri-City area. Silly me. Juicebox was next, and here's another queen whose entry outfit worked beautifully for this photo shoot, especially after that cold snap moved in. Seriously, this is another one of my favorite pictures. I can't believe she didn't win with this either, especially after she made that less than graceful exit off the set and she tripped. I think she was the only girl who did. Seriously, that's not worth a pity vote? Thank God for Jimbo. Her natural sense of humor combined with that cold snap took our minds right off of Juicebox and, well, all the other queens, and then forced us to look at this as if we could look away. And then it was time for the queens to de-drag, which is a polite way to say, check out the competition and see who's trade. Kine thought it was him. Okay. But no one else seemed to care what Kine was doing. They were all too interested to see what Jimbo looked like out of drag. Personally, I thought he looked like Laurel of Laurel and Hardy fame. Just me? Something else we discovered once everyone had de-dragged was that, like Priyanka, Boyanka was trying too hard. Must have been first day jitters. What did you call me? And then the judges returned to the workroom to announce that the first ever Canada's Drag Race mini challenge winner was Kine. Really? Old baggy crotch? Seriously, that's not a drag queen name even I wanted in high school. No offense, but this shot beat out this shot, or this shot, or this. You get the point. Oh well. In an attempt to win friends and influence people, Kine didn't thank anybody. She just wanted to know what she'd won. Oddly enough, she won $1,000 worth of latex couture from Polymorph. Now maybe she can find out what a crotch is supposed to fit like. And then, I don't really remember what happened because Seth Falk and Yao Ming, Canada's pit crew, entered the workroom. And they were hauling some pretty big packages. Seriously, they were huge. They couldn't even lift them. They had to use a cart. Brooklyn knows what I'm talking about. And why the big delivery? Well, it was for this week's Maxi Challenge. The queens had to create couture inspired by classic Canadian fabrics supplied by Roots. See? Roots. Matt couldn't throw a lipstick at the show? Seriously. So, because Kine had won the mini challenge, she got to pick her box first and then dole out the boxes to the rest of the queens. What box did she pick for herself? Well, she picked the Yukon Gold Digger. Who wouldn't? On a strategic level, I have to say, I think it was smart of Kine not to give any of the queens boxes that they wanted. But, on the other hand, no one knew what was in the boxes, so I think she just came off looking like... You heard me. Lemon got Jock Scraps, which she took like a champ. So athletic. Ilona got Musco, which I think she was thrilled to get, because it's fun to say, unless, of course, you're somebody who can't actually say, then I'm sure it's hell. Kine gave Rita Quebec Foi, which I thought was a gift. I mean, if she really wanted to throw Rita a curve, she would have given her that Calgary Stampede or that Prairies box. Make it hard for her. Jimbo got Rainbow It Up, which didn't sound very Canadiana as far as fabric goes. It was more of a desperate attempt to me from the production crew to come up with a 10th box. Why else tuck it in the back? That's what your last boyfriend said. Priyanka was given Gone Fishy, which I still can't tell if it was a read, but Ben Kine did give it to her. Boa got Man of Green Gables, which, if Lucy Maud Montgomery were still alive, she would be the first one to be saying, "Yes, Queen!" Just me. Kiara, who's super cute out of drag, by the way, got Like a Prairie, which she didn't seem to think was very cute. Must be all that waving wheat. Tainomi Banks got Lumberjanes, which I only could assume would be a plethora of plaids. And yes, plethora of plaids was my drag queen name in high school. Starzy's box was Canada Gay, which, from the play on words, one could only assume would be full of Canada Day goodness. But then you know what happens when we assume. Bobo got Calgary Glampede, and from the illusions that Brooklyn was casting about her familiarity in the equestrian arts, Bobo seemed okay with it. Juicy got Much Rusick Video Dance, and I'm sure that this was another one of those boxes that was more of an attempt at a contractual obligation to Rue's music catalog than Roots' attempt at Canadian classic fabric. So, with that done, all that was left for the judges to do was announce that this week's guest host would be Alicia Cuthbert. And I have to say, I'm with Rita a bit here. I didn't really know who Alicia Cuthbert was either. Right away, the queens started rummaging around in their boxes, and for the most part, they all seemed fairly pleased. Jimbo was thrilled with his zippers. Well, the ones in the boxes, anyway. Bobo was super happy to find bandanas in her box, for a change. Anastasia was thrilled to show off the star of her box, which was all shiny and red. Been there. Lemon loved her box so much, she started shopping for herself. Boa was a little taken aback by her box, and she's not the first. But what surprised me was her not having any reference to Anna Green Gables at all. What are they teaching these young Canadian drag queens these days, I ask you? Seriously. Lemon was just mystified by the contents of her box, being the sports-minded queen that she was. It bothered her to no end that she couldn't figure out what some of these items were actually meant to be used for. Not that she got a lot of help from the rest of the queens in the workroom, but I think that she was caught up on the wrong thing. I wouldn't have worried about what these items were for. I would have started telling these items what they were going to be. Tick-tock, Lemon. Tainomi Banks seemed to have a pretty good idea of what she was going to do with the contents of her Lumberjane box, even if Priyanka didn't. Rita's Quebec-inspired box was filled to the brim with everything, including snacks. And here's something you should know. If you haven't bought a bag of cheese curds at the checkout of a gas station, then you haven't been to Quebec. Ilona seemed pleasantly surprised by how much the contents of her box related to her as an Indigenous queen, and why shouldn't? Muskoka's all about the great outdoors and connecting with nature. From the deck of your winterized cabin with Wi-Fi. Seriously. Juicebox seemed to have the most ambiguous contents. CDs, VHS tapes, and this pink-gray sports fleece. Are they sure that this box didn't belong to Olivia Newton-John? The 80s called about their box, Juice. They said keep it. Initially, I thought Juice was onto a good idea by cutting up those CDs to attach them to her outfit, but cutting up those CDs with those cheap scissors looked like it was going to take a long time. Hell, I was exhausted just watching her. Kine was being a successful gold digger with her box. There was so much to choose from. Although, I will admit, those Christmas ornaments had me worried. Something else that had me worried was her overabundance of, well, I want to say confidence, but There was too much trash talk involved for it to be confidence. She just seemed to be getting under everybody's skin by predicting a double win for herself. I just have two words for kind. Christmas balls. And then it was elimination day, and short of Lemon losing her lip balm, things seemed to go along smoothly. While the queens were getting ready, Lemon actually told the queens what it was like living in New York and attending the Alvin Ailey Dance Academy under a full scholarship. See, she is that girl. Ilona told the rest of the workroom what it was like for her to overcome the poor choices she made as a young drag queen now as an adult. Something that Boa could relate to as well, because she, in her early days of drag, was quite the drinker, and it affected how she dealt with her audiences and subsequently the other drag queens. This got Juicebox in the conversation, and she had shared she'd been 2 years sober now and had a lot of insights as to what that transition, how hard to go from that party girl to getting healthy and clean is. And especially, again, I'm so glad that they're having this conversation, because I think it's so easy for people to think that they're the only ones with an addiction problem or having a problem at all. And I think that when people realize these problems are actually more common, then there's more help available. And I think that people get over these problems. And I certainly hope that that's the case here. Good for these girls. Stay clean, stay sober, be beautiful. What could be easier? And then, before things could get too emotional, it was time for the queens to hit the runway. This week's guest host, Alicia Cuthbert, was there to greet the judges. Can I just say, I really liked the guest host situation as opposed to a guest judge. First of all, this takes the onus off our resident judges to host anything and puts them on a level playing field. But this also helps the guest judge be on par with everyone else as the host. I just really liked it, and I thought Alicia particularly did an excellent job. Seriously. And then it was on to the Canadian Couture. First up, Anastasia Anokwe, and I have to say I was super impressed with this outfit because she quilted that fabric. That fabric did not come out of the box like that. She quilted it to look like that parka high-low cape situation. I have to say, I loved it. I loved it so much that I completely ignored her bathing suit and wig combo. Seriously. I loved Kiara's Badadook scarecrow creation. Well, from the waist up anyway. The skirt and everything wasn't doing much for me, but that wig was everything. The best thing about Lemon's runway was her thinking that a hockey stick was a baseball bat. Bless. Also, that wig was really cute, but the rest of it, I really liked Ilona Verley's outfit, although it wasn't my favorite. And I think it wasn't my favorite because I wasn't crazy about the colors, but then that wasn't her fault. And then it was the return of old Baggy Crotch. Seriously? Another jumpsuit? Kind. These clearly are not your forte, which is French for strong. Learn something, please. Even those sad Christmas balls on her bell-bottoms were embarrassed to be there. They kept jumping ship as she worked her way down that runway. Kind wanted to know what her prize would be? Well, worst outfit on the runway, that's what. Seriously. Scarlett Bobo did the best with what she was given, if you ask me, but that big white diaper was inexcusable. Seriously. I was so impressed by Jimbo's outfit, not just because it was so different from her entrance look, but all of those zippers, she sewed each and every one of them onto a skirt. And she didn't do it higgledy-piggledy. She placed them. They were done in almost a pattern. It was spectacular. And that wig on her head. Seriously, where are these queens buying these? So, apparently Priyanka was right. Tainomi did just make herself a big denim muumuu. But it was still better than that rough scissor job she did on that black and red plaid. I'm so serious. And yes, rough scissor job was my drag queen name in high school. Boa's runway was less Man of Green Gables and more Irish Potato Priestess, and I loved it. I couldn't believe that she actually incorporated potatoes into her runway look. Good for you, Boa. Too bad Juicebox followed next in that flimsy attempt at couture, because Seriously, anybody following Boa's potato priestess goddess was going to be a letdown. And Juicy was. Priyanka was another letdown for me. All she seemed to do was drape fishing references over a bikini bathing suit. Hell, even Kind could do that. And then Rita Baga showed us all how it's done. Oh my God, I love this outfit. From her Christmas ball wig, to the stuffed mitten ruffle of her cape, to that glittery blue one-armed bandit dress underneath, the shoes, all of it. This was a complete look. She reminded me of Sonja Henie from a 20th Century Fox musical. And if you don't know who Sonja Henie is, well, we can't be friends. And then it was time for the judges' critiques. First off, Anastasia, Kiana, Ilona, Bobo, Tainomi, and Priyanka were all safe. So they frigged off. First in the hot seat was Lemon, who the judges felt played it a little too safe. But they did say her personality was the star of the show. Then it was Kind's turn. Not only didn't the judges like Kind's look, but Kind was being a total about it by implying that Alicia Cuthbert didn't know how to do her job. Now, I may not know exactly who Alicia Cuthbert is, but that doesn't mean I'm going to disrespect her, especially when she's right. And can I just ask, how is this a quintessential look for Kind when she's never made bell-bottoms before? Thank God Jimbo was next, not only because the judges absolutely loved her runway look, but she was a total sweetheart the whole time, especially after Kind. Boa was another favorite of the judges, and that obviously killed Kind. Rita was another queen the judges loved more than Kind, and why wouldn't they? She looked gorgeous. Thank God that Juicy was next, because if the judges had gushed over one more queen, I think Kind would have lost her natural mind. I'm so serious. But poor Juice Box. The judges were so honest with how much they hated her look that she had a full-blown panic attack, bless. See, drag isn't for sissies. And then the queens retired to the Untucked Lounge, where we were witness to one of the most vicious attacks since Britta met Aiden Zane. Kind just could not get her head around the fact that not only was she in the bottom, but that Boa had done better than her. Apparently, she couldn't live in a world where Boa beat her. I was okay with it. And then the queens returned to the main stage, where it was announced that Rita Baga was the first Maxi Challenge winner of Canada's Drag Race ever. And Kind was the first queen to get her wrist slapped for being a total bitch. Let's hope it's the last. Sadly, that left Lemon and Juicebox in the bottom, but boy, oh boy, this was a great lip sync. Both these queens wanted it. And they both did a great job, but the minute that Lemon did those splits, I knew it was over for Juicy. No offense, it's not that Juicy was bad, it's just that Lemon was better. Seriously. So, the good news is, this was an excellent first episode of Canada's Drag Race. I'm already excited for the next. The bad news is, of course, we had to say goodbye to Juicebox. Oh well, somebody had to be first. But that's enough about what I thought. What did you think? Were you surprised by Kind's attitude? What about Lemon and Juicebox? Do you think they deserve to be in the bottom? And what about Rita Baga? Do you think this is a one-time win or the beginning of a streak? Well, all we can do is tune into Canada's Drag Race next week to see how it all plays out. And then when you're done, you come on back and see me so you and I can compare notes. Now, before we go, I just have a little announcement. I actually will have a bonus review video. I am doing a review with Siatha Knight, who is a brilliant drag queen from Montreal. We felt in honor of RuPaul's Drag Race Canada that we would do a review, just a little meeting of the minds type of thing. So that's going to be up online in probably as we speak, I'm just saying. So check that out. Also, don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if you'd like to tip me or buy some Wilma merch or join me on Patreon, all the links are down below. Until next week, miss me. Mwah! Seriously, Jorge. I really did like that first episode of Canada's Drag Race. I was worried. Yummy.